what if I push too hard? The fear of the reaction that they're going to get from their adult child, right? What if they shut down? What if they yell at us? What if they attack? There's just a big old argument again. What if their anxiety spikes? What if they just go into a worse mental health situation? What if? And we're still paying the bills. We're still cleaning up the messes. We're still watching our adult child not move. And it's many times these moments where the reality or the pain or the discomfort or the frustration of things not moving forward, of them being stuck, really hits. And that's a lot of the times that parents will go in and force a conversation. They push, but it's emotion. It's all their anger or it's all their guilt, right? They go with the guilt trips like, how could you do this to us? And don't you see how much we're suffering? And it's very true. It's very real what everyone's feeling. But the pushing is being motivated by emotion. And then your adult child feeds off that emotion as well, and then that's where you get the shutdown and the pushback and the all that kind of stuff. So uh, you've got to look at, are we coming at this with emotion? We're leading with our emotions. There's been times where I I tell parents, like, you're not really pushing, you're bullying. You're going like in way too strong, because it gets those power struggles. So we want to avoid that. The other type of pushing that I find that is ineffective, and I'll put pushing into quotation marks, um, is it's this misplaced pushing. It's this misplaced or misguided way of approaching the situation. And here's what I mean. Basically, there hasn't been effective conversations. You don't really know why your adult child is hung up, right? Is it their anxiety? Is it their insecurity? Is it a trauma that's happened in the past? Like, why are they struggling so much? And if you don't know what that is, you're likely going to set limits, set goals, bring up conversations in ways that miss the mark. And then it either does not lead to any change, or it becomes, another argument or shutdown. And so you don't know what's going on. Or the other way it's misguided is steps. The steps are too big, right? They're not on the right thing. They're not addressing the right area because there hasn't been conversation. There hasn't been communication. There's not connection. So that pushing, um, and that pushing too hard is often because there's too much emotion involved. You don't know what's going on with your kid. You're not communicating about what's too small of a step, what's too big of a step, what's the right step, what's going to make a difference. That type of connection isn't happening. And so the attempts, the pushing, if you will, doesn't work. And some parents, when it doesn't work, they push even harder. They keep trying. Well, we'll just double down on this and we'll just keep going. And it's more emotion and it's more misguided direction. And that's a lot of times what leads to that fear. You've tried, you've pushed forward, but it's not hitting the mark and it's not working. So they're like, well, what if we do that again? Um, there you need to set limits. You need to push forward, but you want to do it in the right way. And so I'm going to reference this to the end. I will talk a little bit more about how you have those conversations at the end, but I want to identify these points first. So let's move on to the second question, which is when parents say, what if nothing changes? Right? And this often comes out of a place of well, it's a lot of fear, right? It's the fear that, what if in 2026 we're in the same situation? What if in 2028? What in 2039? What if we're on in our retirement home and we're still in this same situation, and you're really worried about it not changing, you got to be careful with that fear because things do change. But when you're afraid nothing's going to change, it's basically aversion. When I hear parents say that, I hear the fear and I try to address it because basically what they're saying is, uh, what if it doesn't work, right? And then should we even try? Are we doing the right thing, right? And it causes them to get into a place of stalling or avoiding or not doing the right thing. Things will change. And I'm not trying to be cocky, I'm trying to be real. They have to change. When you approach it the right way, things will change. They will move forward. If for no other reason, you are going to change. You are going to approach it in a different way. You are going to stop avoiding. You are going to have the right conversations and set the right limits and the steps and the boundaries, and that's going to create change in and of itself right there. Um, what uh, what you can argue, what I see some uh, people struggle with is how quickly that change happens. So sometimes it happens very, very quickly, right? Because I see a family who they're able to connect. They're able to talk about what's really been going on, what they've been avoiding, what has been holding everyone back. They're finally able to have that hard conversation and do that work, and they hit the core of what's going on, and things change very rapidly, right? But some situations are much more complicated than that. You know, maybe your young adult is really struggling with an addiction, a severe addiction, and that has to be worked on before they're going to make much progress. Maybe they have experienced something very traumatic in their life. Maybe they struggle with some significant anxiety, depression, or some other mental health issue, or a mental illness of some sort. Maybe there's something going on with your family that really complicates things, that makes it very challenging, right? Some situations are complicated and the change is slower, but it still happens, right? And that's my focus with so many families is we we're going to see change and we got to do the right things expecting good results, but we got to be aware that sometimes it doesn't go as as quickly as we want, and other times it starts out great and then slows down, and then we got to figure out how to get it going again, but it will happen. So I don't want you to have that fear of it not changing, which kind of leads into the other question, the other fear that I get asked, which is, what if it gets worse, right? What if we have these conversations? What if we set these limits and things get worse? We have to define that word worse, or actually, we need to redefine worse. Because here's the truth: change is difficult. Change is hard, right? And there's not going to be change in you. There's not going to be change in your child. There's not going to be change in the situation without dealing with the difficult things, right? Without addressing the things that were keeping them stuck in the first place, the bad habits, the insecurities, the past difficulties, the things that have happened in the relationship, the hurts that have happened in the relationships. These are hard conversations. These are hard moments, and they're the difficult conversations. That's not worse, right? It can feel worse, but it's not worse. And there's another kind of thing that's going to happen in everyone, but especially your young adult, right? When they are starting to change, they're going to have to face, they're going to have to confront the things that have been kicking their butt, the things that have been robbing their confidence, the habits that they haven't wanted to address, the things that have been so difficult that they have been avoiding all along. And that's going to increase their stress. That's going to increase their emotional, um, just that internal conflict they're having. And sometimes they're going to throw it right back on you because, after all, you're likely the one who's initiating this. And if you would just stop with the limits, stop with the conversations, back off, then they can go back to avoiding and not dealing with things, right? And so those are tense moments, and but they're not worse. That's not the way I see it. Right? When I have a family that I'm working with, and I can feel the emotion. I can see the tension and the conflict between them as they're talking. I mean, the tears and the anxieties and the emotions and all that tension, and it's present. I know they're going through something so difficult. This is so hard for them, but I see it as progress, right? When they're talking about the things they need to talk about, when they're finally addressing the hurts that have happened, the things that have been going on, when they're getting to the core of what needs to be talked about. Those are very hard conversations, but it's progress. It's moving forward. So I might be making this sound daunting, and that's not the point, right? But I, you do need to realize that many times it feels like it's getting worse before it gets better because you're doing the hard work. But that's not really worse, right? This time it's about healing. This time it's about growth. This is progress and moving forward. So when someone asks me, what if we make it worse? I'm like, well, it is going to get harder. It is going to be more difficult, right? We can't avoid that. Now, hopefully, we can get through it very quickly, and we're going to try to get through those moments as quickly as possible. That's a lot of why I'm trying to give you tools and insight here on how to do that. Uh, but there is going to be the difficulty. You can't avoid it. So we need to redefine that idea of worse and moving forward. And then that kind of goes back even to that question about what if we're pushing too hard. Um, it's always about moving forward. I had a conversation just the other day with a family and their kid. Their son was just improving in so many areas, and the mother in this family session was saying like, "Wow, like every area we can just check the box. There's been improvement. We're moving forward. We're getting unstuck. This feels so good. Don't you think we should just kind of sit in this for a while? Just kind of rest and appreciate how things are better and not push it forward. Just kind of chill here for a while." And I right away I jumped on that and I said, one, I love that you can recognize and you can appreciate the change that has happened, and you can acknowledge that, and you can be thankful for it, and you can be grateful for it, and I want you to be in that place. But number two is we got to keep moving forward, right? If it's too much, that's what we talk about. That's the kind of conversations you have uh, to be able to determine, is this too much? Is it too little? We want to get those conversations locked in, because it's about purpose. It's about direction for your child, and that doesn't stop. It's growth. It's not perfection, right? You're allowed to struggle, but it's always about growing. It's always about the next thing, and that's a lot about what I believe is a source of contentment and happiness. Is having for your child to have that purpose and that direction, and to see themselves growing as they're moving forward.